On a bright but chilly morning in the middle of the city's financial district, where glass towers scraped the sky and expensive cars hummed along polished streets, a little girl with dusty cheeks and tired eyes pushed open the enormous doors of the Grand Crest Bank. Her name was Arya Nolan, and her small hands clutched a worn-out card the way someone holds the last piece of hope they have left in the world. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, but even in all that brightness, Arya looked like a shadow, fragile, trembling, and very out of place among marble floors and towering columns. And as she stepped forward, heads turned, not out of kindness, but out of confusion, surprise, and a touch of judgment. All she wanted was simple. She wanted to check her balance. If you believe kindness can change someone's life, and if you stand for second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread more light in a world that desperately needs it. Arya's journey to that bank had not started with courage. It had begun with desperation. She had spent the last 2 days wandering the city, with only a few coins in her pocket, wearing a torn gray shirt and jeans that barely fit. Her mother had always told her, before she passed away, to keep the little white bank card safe. Arya had held onto it for years, never knowing if it meant anything. She only knew that today, with hunger gnawing at her stomach and strangers avoiding her on the sidewalks, she was finally ready to see if the card was worth anything at all, if her mother had left her a miracle or nothing at all. The bank was alive with noise and energy that Arya had never experienced before. Screens flashed figures and stock charts. Workers in tailored suits hurried past one another, carrying files and coffee cups. Phones rang constantly. Every corner glowed with wealth. And in the center of all this power sat Maxwell Grant, one of the wealthiest investment magnates in the city. His laughter filled the air, echoing across the floor as he held court with his advisors. He was a man used to winning, used to power, and used to being untouchable. Nothing ordinary ever rattled him. But then he noticed Arya. She stood at the customer service desk, timidly sliding her card forward. The banker behind the counter, Elena Rohr, froze at the sight of the girl's condition. People were staring, some out of concern, many out of shock, and a few with irritation. Arya's voice was barely audible as she explained what she needed. Elena offered her a soft smile and guided her gently toward Maxwell's section, because his exclusive terminal could access deeper archives of old accounts. Arya didn't know this. She only followed because she wanted to finally know if she had anything left in this world. Maxwell watched her approach with mild amusement. He assumed this was some publicity stunt, or perhaps a misunderstanding. He leaned back in his seat, chuckling quietly as the little girl stepped up to the counter. With a quick motion, she handed him the card, an old, faded debit card that had seen better years. Maxwell shook his head at the absurdity of it all. A billionaire being asked to check a homeless child's bank balance? The situation was so surreal that he couldn't help the smirk growing on his face. But Arya wasn't laughing. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes darted nervously around the large room, absorbing every judgmental stare. She just wanted answers. Just one moment of truth. The room seemed to hush as Maxwell inserted the card into the screen. Then everything changed. Maxwell's smile fell instantly. His eyebrows slowly drew together. He leaned forward, rereading the digits on the screen as if they might rearrange themselves into something more believable. His advisors stepped closer, their faces shifting from curiosity to shock. Elena held her breath. The balance on the screen wasn't empty. It wasn't small. It wasn't normal for someone like Arya. It was enormous. Arya's mother had once worked at a small community center where she met a kind-hearted entrepreneur named Victor Hale. He was childless, aging, and grateful to Arya's mother for caring for him in his final months. Without Arya or her mother knowing, Victor had created a trust fund in Arya's name, a fund that grew year by year, untouched, accumulating interest and investments that Victor had set to continue
even after his passing. He had hoped one day that Arya would find her way to it when she needed it the most. And today was that day. Maxwell stared at the figure, realizing that the girl standing in front of him was not just a child in need. She was one of the wealthiest individuals he had ever encountered. Wealth that she herself didn't even know existed. Wealth that could change her life forever. For the first time in years, Maxwell felt humbled, completely, utterly silenced. The girl he had laughed at was now the owner of a fortune that outclassed even some of his clients. The room watched as he rose slowly from his chair, looking at Arya, not with pity anymore, but with respect, a respect she had earned without even knowing it. Arya, however, didn't understand the number on the screen. She only knew that Maxwell suddenly looked different, less amused, more human. Elena crouched beside her and explained softly what the truth was. As the words washed over Arya, her lips parted in disbelief. Tears welled in her eyes. She wasn't alone anymore. She wasn't helpless. Her mother had left her something far more powerful than she ever imagined: security, hope, and a chance at a future. People in the bank whispered, stunned by what they had just witnessed. Maxwell, famous for his arrogance, was now gently helping Arya gather her things. He offered her food, water, and promised to assign his best advisors to protect her interests until a proper guardian could be appointed. Arya nodded, still overwhelmed, clutching the card that had just transformed her life. It was still daytime, sunlight shimmering through the high windows, but for Arya, the world felt new, warmer, brighter, and finally safe. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your engagement helps these powerful stories reach more people who need hope. Before the story ends, please comment below. What would you do if you discovered a miracle when you least expected it? As Arya stepped out of the Grand Crest Bank later that afternoon, walking into the golden daylight with a small smile forming for the first time in years, she realized something profound. The world could be cruel. The world could be cold. But sometimes, hidden in the most unexpected places, there were gifts left behind by those who loved us, gifts powerful enough to change everything. And that day, Arya carried hers close to her heart, knowing her life was no longer defined by fear, but by possibility.